It's been a
I
while.
Yeah, it's been a while. I think our last session was what, around 4 to 5 years ago?
Yes, it was
A
during the
long
pandemic, I
time.
guess. Yes.
Yes, yes. I think the students have also joined. So, James, we will go ahead and start with the session.
Okay, sure. Okay,
A
let me
very
just
good morning and a heartfelt welcome with you all to you all with the blessings of our honorable founder president sir Dr. Ashok K. Chauhan, our honorable chancellor sir Dr. Atul Chauhan, our respected senior vice president sir Shri U Ramachandran, our honorable vice chancellor sir Dr. Ashok K. Srivastava, our respected registrar ma'am Dr. Amrita Saha, our respected dean of academics sir Dr. Ankur Kumar Ganguly, and our respected Dean of International Relations and the Amity Schools of Education, Hospitality and Travel and Tourism, Dr. Shauli Mukherjee ma'am. It is my privilege to welcome you to today's international guest lecture on the theme Post-Physical Tourism, Designing Experiences for the Immobile Future. In today's world, where pandemics, global conflicts, and climate challenges can suddenly change how we move, it's important to rethink what tourism really means. Tourism is no longer just about traveling from one place to another, it's about the experiences we create, the stories we connect with, and the meanings we carry with us. Even when we can't physically travel, we still engage with places through memories, digital platforms, imagination, and shared narratives. So, tourism today is evolving into something much, much bigger. It's a dynamic field that blends real and virtual experiences, emotions, as well as cultural understanding. And this shift not only helps us adapt to changing realities, but also opens up exciting new possibilities for careers and innovation. It reminds us that tourism is not limited, it is expanding, and it needs fresh perspectives to shape its future. So, with that thought, it is now our privilege and honor to introduce Mr. James Joseph Galvez, who has always been very kind to dedicate his time for us. And James is an internationally acclaimed trainer associated with the World Federation of Tourist Guide Associations. He is the CEO of Lead Pro International Career and Tourism Training Institute, Philippines, a highly respected voice in global tourism training and guiding excellence. James is known for his dynamic, creative, and deeply engaging approach to teaching and learning. Our association with him dates back to 2021, and since then, he has really been a valued academic partner for Amity Institute of Travel and Tourism, Kolkata. He has previously conducted enriching sessions for our students and has also contributed as a distinguished resource person in our faculty development programs, consistently bringing in fresh, future oriented perspectives to tourism education. His sessions are not just informative but transformative, blending creativity, global insight, and practical relevance in a way that truly inspires both students and faculty alike. James, thank you for joining today, and we really look forward to another enriching and inspiring session from you. Over to you, James.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Vandita. It's really been a while, and when you informed me about this engagement, I really got excited because it's like me flying to India again virtually, and I'm really get excited whenever I speak on behalf of the academe and also in front of the students, especially tourism students, which where tourism is really close to my heart, and so whenever helping the tourism students would really means a lot to me, and so there's no reason for me to say no with Dr. Bandita's invitation. So thank you so much again. This is James Joseph Galvez, your international trainer based in the Philippines and Mabuhay. And I'm really happy to be serving as your guest speaker for today. So let me just share with you my presentation. It would just be a very quick presentation just to give our students, Dr. Vandita, a glimpse of how we also do our tourism promotions here in the Philippines. And during that transition from pandemic to that of now, so I'm pretty sure that this will also give them a very good idea of what's happening, not just in the Philippines, but also in the entire Asia Pacific region. Okay, let me share with you. See. Let me just check on my presentation because I'm really not that expert on MS Teams.
It's
Okay.
visible,
May
James.
I confirm if you are now seeing my screen?
Yes, James, it's visible. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, Dr. Vendita. Are you now seeing my screen right now?
Yes, I can. I think we all can see the screen. Yes. Our
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
students can also confirm. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Is it
Yes.
full? Is it full screen right now?
Yeah, yeah, it's full screen.
Okay, all right. So thank you, Dr. Bendita, for confirming. Again, this is the post physical tourism designing experiences for the immobile future. So again, I'm really excited to share with you what we've had here in the Philippines and the Asia Pacific region. But let me start my presentation with sharing with you the tourist life cycle, and so that we would have like a disclaimer or a basis on why we are doing or talking about this tourism promotions and then plans, not just in the Asia Pacific but in the entire world. So for the benefit of our students, uh, I have prepared this tourist life cycle wherein this tourist life cycle involves 5 stages. No, 5 stages wherein first we dream and discover. Wherein you see the Philippines, we see India on the social media via the internet or even the magazines, and so all tourists like you or even like me, no, we all go through this stage, which is the dreaming and discovering. This is the first stage. After a tourist has discovered a country or even a destination, they will now be jumping onto the second stage, which is planning and comparing. For example, one of you might want to go to the Philippines, and of course, for you to reach the Philippines, you might need to take a plane, perhaps Air India or any other airlines from India. And oh, by the way, the Philippines is very welcoming for Indians, for our Indian friends. And part of you planning is not just your transportation going to the Philippines for that example, but also planning on to how your experience in the Philippines will be fruitful, will be memorable. Part of it is also you choosing whether what type of accommodation you will be choosing. Will it be a hotel? Will you be staying in a resort, or will you also be staying in a hostel where there are other tourists who are also there staying in that same accommodation? Also, part of your planning is the food. What would be the food? Do you know adobo or do you know balut? May I ask our students, is there any food that you not do you that you know in the Philippines that is familiar? Any student who would like to share, you can just open your video or your microphone. Just spontaneously share with us. Do you know adobo? Have you have you also researched some of the
Yes, I
food?
had.
Okay, can you share with us?
Yeah, I had adobe, chicken adobe.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, in Philippines, I had chicken adobe. It was like type of chicken mixed with vegetables and yeah,
Yes. Do you like it? Do you like the chicken
yeah, it was
adobo?
good. Yeah, it was good.
It was good, really. Thank you
Yeah,
so much, my dear friend. Do you know that chicken adobo has been our national food in the Philippines? Because most foreigners, even Indians, would also love to try that. So whenever you go to places, to other countries outside the Philippines, many Filipinos would also love to cook. So thank you for sharing chicken adobo. Okay, so that's also part of that, the food, and even the experiences, whether you will be going to experience island hopping, or boat hopping, or even to just hike in the mountains, or in the temples in the Philippines. I know there's a very popular temple in India. Is it the Taj Mahal? Do I pronounce it right? Is it the Taj Mahal? Yes. So I think many Filipinos would also love to go there. So once a tourist, so going back to our tourist life cycle, once a tourist plan and compare all other elements for him or her to enjoy the destination, that is where he goes to the second stage, which is the planning and comparing stage. Now, many experts, my dear students, would say the third stage or the booking stage is the most important stage in the tourist life cycle. Do you have any idea why the booking stage is the most important in the tourist life cycle? Anyone who would like to share your thoughts? Experts say among these five stages, the third stage, the booking stage, is the most important. Can you share with us why? Any thoughts on this, students? Why do you think it is the most important? So even before you travel, even before you jump onto the fourth stage, all other tourists would need to go to the third stage, which is the booking stage. So, do you have any thoughts on this? Why it becomes the most important stage in the tourist life cycle?
Yes, I think students should be able to answer this. So,
Yes? Don't be afraid. I'm a very good friend from the Philippines and might also want to welcome you when you visit the Philippines. There are
if
no
you
wrong
if the
answers here, don't
students
worry.
don't answer, then we are going to randomly pick up your name and make you answer. Would you like
I
that?
think that will be good. Yes.
So, shall we start with Banita? Because I can see Banita on the screen. Yeah, now she's smiling. So, Banita, just ponder upon the question that sir is asking. Why do you think that the third stage, the booking stage, is the most important stage in the tourist life cycle? Share your thoughts.
Hello, sir. Am I audible?
Yeah, you're
Yes.
audible.
Sir, booking stage is important because it is the decision-making stage where a tourist makes a decision about makes a final. The tourist finally chooses a decision regarding hotels or any service.
Yes, very good. I like your answer because truly it is where our tourists decide on what to purchase, what transportation type they would be utilizing, what food they would prefer, or any other experiences that they would love to experience. Okay, thank you so much. Any other answers? So here is where our experts say it is the most important stage. So any other answers, any thoughts on this from our lovely and handsome students?
Yes, any more answers, please? Or shall we pick up another name just randomly? I think that's better.
Sir, I think I have something to say.
Yes, yes, please.
Sir, I think in order to get a proper experience of the whole trip, booking is important. Starting from the accommodation, we have transportation, then activities. I do believe that booking plays a very important role if we visit any destination. So it is very crucial.
Yes, because here is where the money comes in. Thank you so much. So you have a very good point here, no? The stage three is the most important because here is where the money comes in. We purchase our flights, we purchase our hotels or our accommodation, we purchase our planned food, and this is where the money comes in because in general, tourism is still a business. And we never do tourism efforts without, of course, money. Because if we give everything free for tourism, then our efforts to train you, the students, and even our colleagues would really not matter. Again, the reason why it becomes the most important because the money is involved in the booking stage, and that it also used as one of the many signs of success in the tourism, wherein the success of tourism will involve three. Okay, you remember, my dear students, the success of the tourism industry will always rely on the three success signs, which is number one, the tourism receipts. Okay. Number two is the employment generated from the tourism. And the third stage, the length of the stay of the tourists. Again, the three signs of the success of tourism relies on the first is the tourism receipts, wherein there are purchases that a tourist or the tourist should also buy purchase. Second, employment in the tourism industry, and the third and last would be the length of their stay in our destination. So if you are also able to understand these three success signs of the tourism industry, well, in fact, you are in a very good direction already of understanding the entire concept of the tourism industry. So thank you for those two lovely students from the university. Now we jump on to the fourth stage, which is now considered as the most crucial stage. This is now where you will be experiencing what you have booked, what you have purchased prior to you flying to the destination. For example, you'll be going and flying to the Philippines. Third stage is the most important, while the fourth stage, experts say it is the most crucial stage. Now, may I go back to our students once again? Why do you think that the fourth stage is the most crucial stage? Well, in fact, the third stage is the most important. So why do you think? Remember, we are now on the first stage wherein you will now be flying and you will now experience everything that you have booked on the third stage as a tourist. So why do you think it now becomes the fourth stage becomes the most crucial stage? Anyone from our lovely, handsome students? Come on, just share your thoughts. So imagine you're already in the Philippines and enjoying the breeze of Manila, for example, or Cebu or the islands in the Philippines. Why now is travel, you being present in the Philippines, crucial in this stage?
I think the next one to answer. Okay, I can see a hand already. That's Marisha.
Okay,
Yeah,
Marisha?
Marisha.
Yes, please, Marisha.
Well, that was the intention. The intention was to travel, and if I've reached that destination and I'm enjoying it and getting the experience, so I think it's worth it. So that was the motivation, that was the intention, and that's it.
Yes, and because Marisha has mentioned that there's an intention and a motivation to enjoy the destination, and that's what matters whenever we travel. For example, I myself, because I haven't been to India, I always want to go to India because of its culture and people, and because I have friends in India. But because my intention is to fully enjoy what India can offer, perhaps I will choose to go to Kolkata. Why? Because Dr. Vandita is there, and I have a very good connection with Amity University, and that's also the reason why Marisha has mentioned to us that intention of going to a destination, because we have a motivation already, and that motivation is our friendship that I and Dr. Vandita has created, and the connection that I also we as in the academe has also built with the Amity University, and it's a very good start to also dream and discover India, starting with your very good friends. And perhaps our colleagues from Amity University would also want to go to the Philippines because maybe I'm thinking, because I am here, ready to tour them in the beautiful places and islands in the Philippines. So thank you, Marisha, for a very nice answer out there. Okay, anyone else? One last answer from our brilliant students from Amity University. Why do you think it becomes the most crucial stage, the fourth stage? Tourists will now travel. Anyone who has a brave heart? Come on, don't be shy. I know in India, one of the many brilliant students are found at Amity University. So give us a best shot here. Students, why do you think number four or the fourth stage is the most crucial? Yes, Tanaya, please. Can you share with us your thoughts?
Good morning, sir.
Good
So I
morning.
think travel is the most crucial part in tourism because it helps us to know the local culture of the particular destination. So if we travel to other places, so it also helps us to know their local cultures. Like if we go to Philippines and if we travel to other destinations, so it will help us to interact with the local peoples. And yes, I think that's also a main part.
Yes, excellent. Thank you so much. And as you've mentioned, this is the part wherein we will now be able to discover the beauty of that destination, to enjoy what this destination can offer. And also, the reason why it becomes the most crucial is because here is where the tourism frontliners perform. So remember that again, it becomes the most crucial part of the tourist life cycle because the travel stage is where the tourism frontliners perform. Example, I am a tourist guide here in the Philippines, and my job is the safety is to ensure the safety of my tourists and also to make their experience memorable in our city, for example, or in the Philippines. And if I do not do very good at storytelling, then perhaps your experience in the Philippines might not be very memorable, right? But if I perform very good, if I perform well in my job as a tourist guide here in the Philippines, then I will really add up with much appreciation of you enjoying and discovering the beauty of the Philippines. So that's only the perspective of a tourist guide. What about in the hotel? Imagine if you check in a hotel and then you see a lady in the front desk not smiling at all when you approach the front desk, how will you feel? Won't you feel disappointed? Right? So, in other words, if that lady in the front desk is smiling, then your long time of traveling to a destination or to their hotel would really also make you smile because you see a smiling lady on the front desk. So, in other words, if you really perform that heartfelt hospitality, giving that heartfelt welcome to our tourists, and that would really mean very special to them. Even I myself, if whenever I check in, I always want the front desk to also smile at me. And it also gives me a relief that, oh, even if I'm tired flying from a long trip, for example, just last week I flew from Manila to Bangkok, and then that hotel in Bangkok, their front desks are really very welcoming. They're all smiling, and do you know the travel from Manila to Bangkok is 4 hours? And if I am the type of traveler wherein I also get tired for a long trip, but if I see smiles from their faces, and that at that very moment that I saw their faces smiling, then the tiresome from my body got also energized. So you see, they performed really well because they were all smiling. And so again, why it becomes most crucial part of the tourist life cycle is because the tourism frontliners perform here. And the tourism frontliners should perform very good. Very good. Because if we perform very good, well, in our industry, then we will be jumping on to the fifth stage now, wherein our tourists will now try to return and share that good experiences to their friends, to their families, to their relatives, because us, the tourism frontliners, tourist guides, transport operators, hotel frontliners, are able to give a very good warmth, very good welcome, very good experience to our tourists. In contrary, if you are not trained, if you are the type of tourist guide who are really not able to train yourself well, you do not give a very good story, you just handpick stories that are even not real, then the tourist life cycle will stop. What do I mean by that? Because they are not happy, the tourists are not satisfied, then the tourist life cycle won't continue with its cycle. Because that alone, as a tourist frontliner, you were not able to perform that well, the cycle will be caught into the fourth stage or perhaps on the fifth stage and never go back to your destination or even dream of coming back to your destination alone because they would they would say to themselves, "Oh, in that destination, the hotel frontliners are really that not good. They're not all smiling. The customer service are bad. The tourist guys are really not that good. So why choose to go back to that destination?" So you see, our role in the tourism industry is crucial, especially on the fourth stage, wherein it is a break or make stage. Again, the fourth stage is a make or break stage, wherein a tourist may either move forward of coming back to the destination itself or won't be coming back to the destination itself because of the poor performance or perhaps poor customer service our tourism frontliners are able to perform. But again, the beauty of the tourist life cycle is that if we are trained enough, like the Amity Calcutta would always want the best in all of you because we want you students to perform in the industry after you graduate. Wherein at stage four, you are all excellent in the tourism industry and that we aim our tourists, especially in India, to return in India and to share that best experiences in India. And so they will now go again to the first stage to dream and discover some more parts of India, discover more of India, and then plan and compare. And then the money again comes in to India because they book their flights, they purchase accommodation, they purchase activity, and our performance will still be seen and felt on the fourth stage, and the tourist life cycle will still go on to the first until the fifth stage, and so on. So you see, that's the beauty of the tourist life cycle. So again, be at the best version of yourselves. And I'm pretty sure that the Amity University Kolkata is one of the best avenues for you students to be your best versions of yourselves because you have the best mentors, you have your best professors there in your university. So this is the tourist life cycle. So I hope you're able to understand now where the tourists come in from dreaming and discovering, planning and comparing, booking, which is the most important part, travel, which is the most crucial part or the make or break stage, and return and sharing, which is the last stage. Okay, so again, if you have questions, just write it down later on. So we will be having our question and answer portion after my presentation. Now, how do we ensure that after the pandemic, we are now gearing towards a beautiful set of experiences to our tourists? What can we do? What are the efforts that the tourism frontliners are doing right now for the tourists to experience the best in these destinations, whether it's in India or the Philippines or even in any other parts of the world. So let me share with you some of the facts that we have had. Every detail I will be sharing with you. First, we show off the USP. What is USP? This is the unique selling point. For example, let me ask you, how do you know the Philippines or what do you know the Philippines? May I ask again, our students? What do you know about the Philippines? Can you share with us? Come on, just a random thought. Yes. Yes, Shib. What do you know about the
Uh,
Philippines?
it has some of the most beautiful islands in the world.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Shib. And I take pride that Indians like Shib, and of course, some of our students would know that the Philippines has some of the most beautiful islands. And that is our USP, the unique selling point. You know that the Philippines has some of the most beautiful islands. Okay, very good. Thank you. What about the others? How do you know the Philippines, or what more do you know about the Philippines? Maybe you have seen on TikTok or on Facebook. Anyone else? What do you know about the Philippines? Come on, just a random thought. Like myself, I know India because of Taj Mahal. Because it is also included in our book, the Taj Mahal. And so that's also one of the unique selling points that will convince me to make to visit India because of Taj Mahal. Apart from me having friends, having my very good friends there in your university. So again, any other hands, my dear students? What do you know about the Philippines? Any other thoughts? Apart from it
Uh,
is also part. Yes, yes, please.
the sceneries are very attractive and beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Okay.
Starting from the beach to I think most of the destinations, the all the sceneries are very beautiful.
Yes. And mind you, we are also thank you, my dear friend. And mind you, we're also known to be having some of the best beaches in Asia. If you know Boracay, it's so white. It's also my happy place, Boracay Island. But you know that is very far from my city. I need to fly. I need to drive from my city to the airport 4 hours. 4 hours and then another flight 1 hour from Manila to Boracay. And then I need to also take a ferry boat for 15 minutes and then I will now be reaching Boracay. So Boracay, Cebu, Siargao, these are just some of the many beautiful beaches and islands in the Philippines. So as tourism frontliners, what we have done from the pandemic up to now, that jump off point is we now pinpoint, we now select the USP or the unique selling points. Right now, in our city, Baguio City, by the way, our city Baguio is the coldest city in the Philippines and the highest city in the Philippines. Our temperature will ranges from around 12 to 17 degrees Celsius. So it's really cold. We need to also use our jackets even if it's late in the afternoon. But that is one of the many USPs of our city. It is cold and it is also one of the created cities of UNESCO, Baguio City. Okay. But anyway, so that is just one. Another interesting effort that we have done in our city and in here in the Philippines is our moving on package. Are you familiar with moving on? This is where you were able to break up with your boyfriend or girlfriend or your partner and then you are now on that moving on stage wherein you reflect within yourself and then you need to also ask yourself whether your partner is worthy or you yourself is worthy of his or her love. So during the pandemic and during the end of the pandemic, we have created a moving on package wherein we select destinations that will make our tourist reflect within himself or herself, do self concept and self love. There you go. This is fused with connection with nature. So we crafted our moving on package, our moving on tour package with 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 our tourists connecting themselves to nature, and for him or her to experience completeness, even if he or she is experiencing brokenness from that hurtful experience from their past partner or from their ex-partner. And that this moving on tour package is also executed with the help of a life coach or a trained tourist guide that will help them reach their optimal self-healing process. So anyone from this class or from this session who has their partners with them, can you raise your hands? Do you have a partner with you, boyfriend or girlfriend? So hopefully you will be able to having a very good connection with your boyfriend or girlfriend. But if in case that at this point you are still in pain, then perhaps one of you might want to purchase or experience this moving on tour package. Okay? So that is also an interesting package that we have come up with. All right? So again, moving on to what we moving on with our efforts is also creating mind-blowing news about the destination. So what do you do for your destinations to be known? You have to create mind-blowing news. So let me share with you a very good video that created a news buzz, not just in their destination but worldwide. Okay, so I hope the audio, the sound will also be played. Just let me know. Okay, enjoy.
James, we can see the video, but the sound is not audible to us, sadly.
Ah, okay. Let me check the audio, Dr. Bandita. Let me see.
There is an option. I hope you can see that icon share.
Share
So
sound.
when you click on that, there is
Ah, okay.
it's showing include sound. So you just have to select that option
Okay.
if that works for you.
Can you hear
Far
now?
Yeah,
north
yeah.
lie
Now it's
18
audible.
small islands
Okay.
called
Enjoy
the
the
Faroe
video.
Islands, isolated by the North Atlantic Ocean. Green mountains and plunging waterfalls, unspoiled and unexplored. In a world where more and more tourists search for novelties, how can the islands remain unspoiled by tourism? The islanders have found a solution.
On behalf of the Faroese government, I hereby declare the Faroe Islands as closed for maintenance and open for volunteerism during the last weekend of April. During the weekend, all sites and attractions will be closed for regular tourists. However, we invite volunteers from abroad to lend us a helping hand by working side by side with locals, maintaining walking trails, fences and viewpoints to preserve our beautiful nature. In return, the Faroe Islands will provide free food and stay for everyone who helps out. I hope to see as many as possible on the last weekend of April. Thank you.
Sign up at preservefaroeislands.com.
Okay. So you see, this is one of the many best projects of that of Faroe Islands. So by the way, Faroe Islands is a self-governing island in the Kingdom of Denmark, in the northern coast of Iceland and Norway. So as you can see on the video, the leader there, no, or the governor has decided to close the island from tourists. But they have shifted into something more interesting, converting tourism into volunteerism, to voluntarily make themselves become volunteers of preserving Faroe Islands. And so, when they launched preservefaroeislands.com, many tourists get really excited to sign up, and it becomes really evident that many foreign tourists and even local tourists would want to go to Faroe Islands. So it becomes an effective project or tourism projects or concepts in Faroe Islands. So you see, and I am pretty sure that our students, Dr. Vandita, may also be able to do similar effective projects in the near future for India. Okay, so that is just one. Another effort is creating killer video content that concerns the community. So here in the Philippines, we have had some of killer videos. When we talk about killer videos, these are like interesting, unique videos, enticing videos that can generate attention. So I will be sharing another video for you to enjoy about creating killer video content that concerns the community. Okay, so keep your eyes on this video, please.
Goedemorgen. Allegra. Willkommen im Bündnerland. Ja, guten Tag, schöne Frau. Goedemorgen. Morgen, Bro. Hey, Allegra. Soll ich kurz sehen? Ja, du. Hallo. Darf ich einladen? Ja, mach ich mal. Maar het weer niet af, vriend. Einladers, Billett draussen. Okay.
Oh, jetzt ist es gut.
Ja, das ist gültig heute.
Heute habe ich nicht Zeit. Oh, komm zum Treiben.
Jetzt gerade.
Das ist ein bisschen spontan. Danke vielmals.
Jetzt müsst ihr einfach auf den Zug.
Okay. Dann Sie mit meinem Chef reden.
Ja, da muss doch geschwind anrufen. Das ist nicht so wichtig mit dem Chef. 044.
446.
Das ist Silbermann. Der kommt heute Nachmittag nicht in die Schule. Dann kann ich auf die rechnen.
Ich weiß es nicht.
Das ist mit Kinderkrippe noch. In einer Viertelstunde fährt der Zug.
Shit.
Das lange gerade noch.
Also dann bis nachher.
Ja, dann kommen wir.
Ja, ist gut. Bis nachher. Also wir kommen.
Hey, super. Ja, das ist super.
Tschüss.
Hey, ciao. Ja, hallo. Hey, willkommen.
Hallo, danke.
Gut, reisen.
Ja.
Ja, das ist gut. Hey! Perfect.
Okay. So as you see, this is one of the many effective tourist destination projects in that part of Switzerland. Okay, so Graubünden, if I pronounce it right, Graubünden. So they have created a portal in the train station, and there's a member of the community who've been inviting the commuters in the train station live. So once that commuter accepts the challenge of going to the community, then the train ticket is free and it will be dropped on that portal on that real time. And then that commuter who agreed can now go to that community, and the person in the portal, the representative of the community, will now be able to welcome the commuter live, and everything is free. No, do you know, here in the Philippines, just last year, we also had the same project. We did it in Taguig City. It is in Metro Manila, where a private sector has built a portal, a literal portal. It's a huge portal. It's a circle. I think I feel it is like about the height is about 8 feet, 8 feet, and the length is also 8 feet. Wherein in any parts of the world they can see, like New York, Japan, Korea, they are also seeing the passersby in that particular portal. So this is one of the many tourism efforts that interesting tourism efforts that here in the Philippines are also officials are also doing, and I'm pretty sure you can also do the same in the near future. Okay, another part of what we are doing right now is influencer program on Facebook and even TikTok. We also tap influencers, or how do we call it, vloggers, to also promote our destination. So this is also one thing that we are also doing, and use a challenge to spark interest in a destination. You can also do this. So let me just share with you a 2-minute video of this destination where a challenge was used to spark interest in a destination. Are you ready? Are you ready to watch? All right. All right. Good. Enjoy the video. So still Gothenburg. This similar video that was also used earlier. So this is in a city, in a silent city.
Bei uns ist es so ruhig, wenn das Telefon klingelt, dann hören es mir im ganzen Dorf. Wenn ihr auf das Telefon anruft und wir hören es nicht, dann gewinnen Sie Ferien oder andere tolle Preise. Rufen Sie an auf Nummer 081 860 10 90.
Hallo? Jetzt habe ich es leider abgenommen, ja.
Ja, etwas musst du machen, gell? Sonst läuft nichts. Gell?
Verstehst du? Das donnert und twittert und ja.
Hallo? Agustin? Entschuldigung, guten Morgen.
Ja, einfach probieren, ja.
Ah, eingeladen, ja, ja.
From Norwegen. Nice.
Vorrat Südostschweiz bin ich verbunden mit Schlein.
Guten Morgen, wohl. Da ist es drin, ja.
Ein Strubina. Oh, du gehst du schon bald in die Schule?
Okay. Let's go it again. All right. So after this program was launched, many tourists will really try to call the city, and they also get the winner where it wasn't called. The call wasn't answered by any member of the community. So again, this is one just of the many interesting projects in the tourism that they've been doing during the pandemic and to that of the transition in the new normal. Okay, and also discussion platform on Facebook. You can also focus on the marketing by traveler type. There are many countries who are now focusing on a traveler type. For example, if you are a blind person, or if you cannot walk, then they are now promoting such destination. So let me just again play one more video for you, a 2-minute video of a blind person who enjoys Quebec, no, in Canada. Okay, so again, please have your eyes on this video. It's a very good tourism video where your hearts will be filled with appreciation. Are you ready? This is the video.
My name is Danny Keene from Long Island, New York. I've been blind since birth. I guess that's why I was chosen to show the world what Quebec is like in summer. You know, there's a reason why people close their eyes when they kiss, when they cry, and when they pray. Because the most essential things in life must be filled with our hearts.
All right. Were you also able to cry watching this video? Because every time I watch this video, I also even cry often, no? So we are now shifting on to focusing a new tourist market. Wherein for this video, they focus on accepting blind people, or the blind love, no? So they were able to, the tourism office were able to come up with efforts for a blind person to enjoy, even if they're not seeing other destinations. So they are able to make that blind person feel the air, hear the whispers or the chirping of the birds, and even the and taste the local flavors of Quebec. And so as the blind person said, all special moments on earth is felt in the heart, not even seen. So that what makes this tourism effort really special. Okay, so I hope you were able to also move by this tourism effort during and as we transition from pandemic to the new ones. And it is also important to highlight what's new in the area. So every time that here in our city Baguio, we have what we call La Trinidad, a town nearby our city. Every summer we are harvesting strawberries, and so we highlight this because this is also a major tourist drawing activity, the harvest season, wherein the tourists are able to experience and handpick fresh strawberries. And to end my session, my dear students, I would like to share with you sustainable efforts in tourism and eco tours. We're in based on the WTO highlights during the Global Outbound Lodging Nights by Source of the bulk of the travel market, intra-regional and interregional travel ramp up growth. So we are looking onto projecting 38.7% of global outbound lodging, meaning many tourists would be able to travel outside our countries and explore the beauty of the places in on Earth 38.7% by 2030. Okay, and the total global outbound travel spending means this would be in billion dollars. It would be about 8.6 billion dollars by 2030. So imagine what tourism can give to the local and global economy, the contribution of the tourism economy in the global economy, right? So we are also, I would also would like to share with you some of the sustainable destinations here in the Philippines. We have Coron. This is in the Philippines, part of the province called Palawan. They do not use plastics anymore because they also use some sustainable materials, recyclable materials. This is an airport in the Visayas in the Philippines wherein they use water, rainwater for their water supply. So as you can see, they are the waves, the roof are like waves. It now tries to filter the rain out from the sky to gather the rainwater and are able to convert into something sustainable used by the airport. It is Bohol Tagbilaran International Airport in the Visayas in the Philippines. And this is also Siargao, same with the town of Coron in the Philippines. They also have stopped using plastics. So wherever you go in the island called Siargao, oh, by the way, Siargao is the surfing capital of the Philippines. They are always using recyclable materials. Okay. And lastly, I would like to share with you as I end my presentation this transformational tours or trips. Part of what we also do here in the Philippines is what we call the forest bathing tour experience. So this is also one interesting experience right now. So we've started this during the pandemic, and many Filipinos and even foreign tourists coming and visiting our city of Baguio are now able to enjoy forest bathing tour even up to now. So how do we do forest bathing? Oh, by the way, forest bathing, my dear students, is a term from Japan. It's called Shirinjoku. So Shirinjoku is connecting with nature. So goes back in the early 1980s. They've been using this before in Japan, but just during the pandemic, it was introduced here in the Philippines for the Filipinos and for the foreign tourists to also enjoy uh, the nature and connecting themselves with nature. So how do we do this? As you can see, this is myself on the center. Are you seeing me on my attire? So I was performing a forest bathing experience with my tourists in Baguio City. So it is performed under the towering pine trees in our city. Would you like to try this right now? Virtually? Yes? Dr. Bandita, I think your students might want to try this forest bathing experience.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, we can do it in 2 minutes only as I wrap up my presentation. But before I formally do this activity, may I invite our students to open their cameras for also for everyone for to also be seen and recorded as we perform this forest bathing experience. Okay?
All
And
students,
of
please
course, no
switch on your
distraction.
cameras. Yeah.
Yes, okay. Now I'm seeing beautiful and handsome faces, Dr. Bandita. All right. So I want you to just focus to yourself and just listen to what I say and do what I say. All right? Are we good? Okay, so this is not the forest bathing. Okay, everyone, I want you to close your eyes. Everyone, I want you to close your eyes and imagine you are in the middle of a forest. You are in the middle of the forest and experiencing, seeing the towering pine trees. There are chirping of the birds. You are hearing the chirping of the birds. You are also experiencing the breeze of the wind. It's cold breeze reaching through your skin. You are enjoying some of the many beautiful flowers in front of you. And now you try to inhale. Everyone, inhale, exhale. Again, everyone, inhale, exhale. And then suddenly you feel yourself alone in the middle of the forest. And then you take a few steps in that forest. And then suddenly you see your loved one. So I want you to try to imagine your loved one is smiling in front of you. He or she is smiling. Your loved one could be your mom, your father, your parents, or maybe your partner or sister. He or she is smiling in front of you. And then that loved one in front of you will say, "Hey, I'm proud of you. I'm really proud at what you have come. So just keep going. Just have that courage to continue because I want you to be at your best version." And then upon hearing words, try to smile and step further forward to him or her. And then you try to hug your loved one, hugging him or her so tightly. And you're feeling his or her warmth. And then you say, "Thank you. I love you." And then that person you're hugging right would say, "I'm proud of you. I'm proud of what you have become." Again, you are hearing the chirping of the birds, feeling the coldness of the wind. And now you try to inhale. Everyone inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. And now you may open your eyes. Okay, everyone? How's the experience? That's just a quick forest bathing experience to do in our city in the Philippines. So anyone, our students, how do you feel right now? Do you now feel sleeping?
I think
Anyone?
Marisha is feeling sleepy. Yeah.
Yes, Marisha? How do you feel when we were doing that?
Sir, I really felt very positive.
Mm-hmm. Okay, what about the others? How
Uh,
do you feel right now? Yes?
Sir, I'm feeling very light.
You feel very light, very good. That's really the purpose of forest bathing, to make you feel light. What about Akash? I think Akash is raising his hand.
Oh, feeling was calming actually. Very, very calming feeling. Calming.
Yeah, very calming. So it really like relieves your heart, your burden inside. So Dr. Vendita, maybe if we can do it in a physical setting, it would be really better for our students to experience it. So that is forest bathing. We now try to connect ourselves with nature and make ourselves believe that we are worthy of living and that we are worthy of loving at the same time. Okay? So as I wrap up, let me just leave you a very quick note. Uh, that every great dream begins with a dreamer, everyone. My dear students, always remember you have within you the strength, that courage, the patience, and of course the passion in loving the tourism industry, to reach for the stars, to change the world. Remember, my dear students, if you are with Amity University, you are one of the best, if not the best students in India. On that note, thank you so much, Dr. Vandita, our dear students, for listening and for taking attention or giving your attention to my content. Thank you so much.
James, am I audible to you?
Yes, Dr. Vandita, I can hear you.
Uh, so, dear students, as you could see, that Mr. James Joseph Galvez leaves us not only with ideas, but also with experiences which kind of, gently shifts you away from the way we traditionally have understood tourism itself. So I'm sure all of you would agree with me that this session did not merely inform us or just, random facts and figures. No, it immersed, it challenged, and also kind of expanded our imagination. So we learned how to rethink mobility, community participation. Then he touched upon the different inclusive and creative destination narratives, different things, very vastly different things, yet a common thread which connects it all. So this is how James does it. He blends innovation with sensitivity as well as theory with lived experience. I'm really grateful, James, for this continued association of yours with us, with Amity Institute of Travel and Tourism, Kolkata. And on that thought, may I now invite a few questions, which I'm sure some of our students and also our faculty members who have been listening to your session very intently today. So they might be having. And over to you, Dr. Ananda Mitra, ma'am. May I now request you to kindly take over for the Q&A session as well as the vote of thanks. Over to you, Ananda, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. I think few of our students already have some questions. I see some positive faces. Okay, students, you can raise your hands. I think Shania has a question. Yes, Shania, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Am I audible, sir?
Yes.
Good afternoon, sir. I'm Shania Chaudhary. So my question to you is, can a culture remain authentic after it becomes a tourist attraction?
Sorry, can you repeat, Shamia, your question?
Sir, can a culture still remain authentic after it becomes a tourist attraction?
Can
Okay, I
sorry,
think the question she's asking is
Mhm.
when I mean, let's say any destination, we
Mhm.
want the tourists to come in, then we start promoting the culture, the different aspects of the culture of that destination. So there is a problem. We know that we probably end up too much commodifying that culture. So Probably the question which the student is asking is, even when we are promoting the culture, can we still retain its authenticity? Even when we know that somewhere down the line it's getting commodified.
I see. Now I understand. Thank you, Dr. Vendita, for rephrasing the question, and thank you for that question, Shamia. Now I understand that at some point, even our destinations would also want our cultures to also feel that we are authentic. For example, to our tourists, sometimes it is being commodified. Now it will always be dependent on who would be the lead storytellers, because here is where we will be seeing the role of the tourist guides. Well, the fact that the tourist guides are there ensuring that the authentic experience of the tourists would also see the communities, for example, in terms of their cultural showcase, showcasing their culture, their tradition will be authentic, and then there could never be a problem of whether it's a question of being authentic or not. But of course, I know, understand that sometimes it is being commercialized. It is not being authentic because we now try to satisfy our tourists, and that's the saddest part that we also need to focus on. And at some point, some authenticities in our culture are also being breached. Even here in the Philippines, there are cultures that are, I could say, that are not being, although authentic in nature, but we need to also adopt with what the tourists the tourists need. And so um uh there are some problems that should also arise, or the pros and cons that are also be needed to adjust the satisfaction of the tourists. But again, as a tourism frontliner, you yourselves, my dear students, as tourism frontliners, especially you, Shamia, uh, it is important for you to understand your role as a tourism leader. Your role is authentic. Your role to ensure that whenever we showcase authenticity in our culture and tradition, there are no other elements in the tourism industry that are being sacrificed, and that will mean a lot. Remember that. That the show, as we showcase our culture, you should always remember that there are some other elements in the tourism that should not be sacrificed. Okay, so I hope I was able to answer, Shamia.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I think next, Sushma Rai has a question. Please, Sushma, please go ahead with your question. And next, we'll take up Rahili's question.
Hello, good afternoon, ma'am. Good afternoon, sir. Sir, myself Sushma Rai, and I am currently pursuing my PhD. So I have one
Sushma, you are not audible to us. Your voice is coming very low. You're not
Can you be
audible.
louder, please?
Hello, am I audible now?
But can you use a earphone? Can you use a earphone, Sushma?
In the meantime, we can take the questions maybe in a chat box or a WhatsApp group
Yeah, if
that we have
anybody-
with the students. I
Yeah.
think Ahili had a question.
Yeah, I will.
Good afternoon, sir. I'm Ahili Rao.
Good afternoon.
My question would be in next 20 to 30 years, what are the future approaches could be taken to enhance touristic experience in Philippines?
What are the sorry? What are is it the efforts? Do I hear it right?
What are
Can I reframe the question for you, James?
Yes, yes.
It's
please,
like
Dr.
on today's date, let's say today is 25th March 2026. So it's like she's asking you for the maybe next 20-year plan for
Okay.
promotion of tourism in Philippines, something on that line. So how do you envision that 20-year plan from now onwards?
I see. You know, to be honest, thank you, Dr. Vendita, for rephrasing the question, and thank you, Healy Roy, for giving that question. So you see here in the Philippines, I'm seeing that we are actually now gearing towards sustainable tourism, and that we are now saying no to plastics. And so there would be many tourism destinations in the Philippines that are now sustainable in nature. Earlier, I have presented just three destinations in the Philippines that started gearing towards sustainable tourism, saying no to plastics, using recyclables and renewable energy as their form of as their source of water and even electricity. 20 years from now, the Philippines, I'm seeing that the majority of our 7,000, more than 7,100 islands are also gearing towards sustainable tourism. And that many foreign tourists are also able to enjoy, like Indians are now enjoying the islands of the Philippines. And it is a huge work for the Philippines because we also have our competitors, our neighboring countries in Southeast Asia, like Malaysia, Thailand, Vietnam, who are also very aggressive in their tourism promotions. But currently, I believe that the Department of Tourism are also doing their job to really promote and compete with all our neighboring countries to be the one of the highest tourism arrivals in Asia. And right now, I could say that we are really gearing towards futuristic uh, type of tourism in the Philippines. From the cities of Manila, we now have our futuristic experiences offered, similar to those in Singapore, similar to those in United Arab Emirates. We also have that here in the Philippines. It's not just being hyped by our tourism authorities, but these are privately owned tourism destinations that are also competing with those first world countries where we also we also catch some of the tourists, not just locals and foreign uh, uh, tourists here in the Philippines. So I believe that the future of the tourism, in terms of tourism in the Philippines, is really beautiful as we gear towards 20 or 30 years from now. So I hope I was able to answer, Ahili, your question.
Thank you, sir. Sushma, are you there? Okay, anyone else?
I do have a question to ask actually. So, James, today you talked about, I mean, you showed us many examples of very creative and really future forward ideas. But there are many organizations who still operate within the limits of very traditional models. I would say within very narrow confines.
Right.
So, how exactly do we bridge that gap? I mean, not everybody wants to try out something offbeat. They say
Right.
that ideas like that are good on, paper, not implementable in, or probably not even sustainable in the long run. So
Right.
despite this industry being so very dynamic, still there comes a point where we ourselves do resist a lot of change. So
Right.
how do we exactly bridge that gap? What would be your take on that?
Yes. Thank you for that very good question, Dr. Vandita. And I feel like it's also timely to ask that question because not many tourism leaders are ready to embrace what the future holds and what the futures of their own destinations can also offer. And I agree with you, Dr. Vandita, that most of our leaders right now are also very traditional in nature and at some point afraid of embracing that those new innovation. But you see, I always believe that it's always a test of character. It is always a test of character. A tourism leader should be aggressive in the way that he or she sees an opportunity for the tourism landscape to grow. And if that tourism leader is always stopped by fear, by those tensions that he or she thinks, then he or she might really never go forward. So it will always really be dependent on that tourism leader who will convince his or her people to be his or her battalion to fight and embrace the innovation that that destination needed. Because if not, they will be left behind, really. And they can never compete with all other destinations or countries who are now really very progressive in terms of their tourism promotions, aggressive in terms of how they also empower their people, and also empower the tourism frontliners, because they do believe that tourism itself is a key motivator for the economic performance of their own respective countries. So again, it is always dependent on testing their characters, our tourism leaders, to really move forward. And we hope that in the next few years, we find tourism leaders like you, Dr. Vendita, or Dr. Ananya, or all other tourism frontliners in India or here in the Philippines, to really, work hand in hand to embrace that innovation that we really needed. Because if in some countries it works, most likely with further intervention, some of these concepts might also be working to our countries. So I hope I was able to answer Dr. Bandita.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much. Do we
Thank you.
have any other questions, Ananda
I
ma'am?
think Ma'am, Tanaya Pal has a question. I think this is the last question we can take.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Tanaya.
So first of all, thank you so much for giving us so many things, so many information. So I have learned so many unique things about Philippines. So my question is about, as we have seen that virtual tourism is growing super fast. So is there any possibility that Philippines will also like adopt virtual tourism systems in upcoming years?
Ah, okay. So virtual tourism. Tanaya, thank you for your question, and I'm really happy that you have some ideas about the Philippines already, and I hope to also welcome you here in the near future. I'm just really happy to say, Tanaya, that our innovation, the virtual tour guiding here in the Philippines, has been performing even up to now. So remember when Dr. Bandita also invited me to be one of your speakers when she also seen the virtual tour guiding experience. After that, many universities here in the Philippines has included virtual tourism in their curriculum. And I'm very happy because part of their curriculum is myself, my innovation, wherein the students are now able to come up with sessions like this and do virtual tourism and virtual tour guiding through the elements that I have presented to them 4 years ago. I could still remember the beauty of that concept. And even up to now, my colleagues in the academe from the different parts of the Philippines, they keep on telling me and tagging me, Sir James, our students will be doing virtual tour guiding. Would you like to witness that? And I've been very happy because they have adopted that virtual tourism. Although it's up to this point, it's not that money generating experience. But I tell you, Tanaya, in our format with our group with B Guides Philippines, these tourist guides like me who've been doing virtual tour guiding experiences are also able to earn from this virtual tourism from these experiences, and that is what makes me really happy because I feel like I have left a legacy in the tourism industry. So I hope I was able to answer, Tanaya.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Tanaya.
I think Joseph
We
sir,
can
like
take just one last
one last
question.
question.
Students are very
Yes.
enthusiastic today. So one last
Okay.
question. Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Go ahead,
Yes,
Vanita.
Vanita.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Sir, my question is, can virtual reality reduce over tourism at popular destinations such as in Mount Fuji
Vanita, could
Sorry,
you
Benita.
repeat your question a
Can
bit
you repeat?
clearly? Yeah.
Sir, my question is, can virtual reality reduce over-tourism at popular destinations?
Okay. So we're now talking about over tourism. All right, over tourism. Well, that is one of the. Thank you, Benita. Well, I would say that's really one of the biggest threats in all of the destinations or even all of the countries here. We face over tourism, and it will always boil down to how the government and the tourism stakeholders furnish and collaborate with each other, because that is that's one thing that we really need to focus on how we will be controlling the influx of our tourists. For example, here in the Philippines, there's an island. We call it a province called Batanes. So it is further north of the Philippines, and it's actually near just 120 miles near Taiwan, if I'm not mistaken with the figures. But it's near Taiwan. That province is limiting the influx of tourists. They cap the number, they limit the number of tourist arrivals every day, because they believe that if they limit the tourist arrivals, they will sustain the environment, they will sustain the destinations that they have. And mind you, that province in the Philippines is one of the most expensive, if not the most expensive, in terms of how you get there. The flights are really very pricey. Accommodations are just normal, but you see, when you fly there and the experiences, it's really not that cheap. But no one's is complaining. Why? Because it's part of the plan of the government and the stakeholders to keep the province, instill that our province is one of a kind, that our province is not going to support over tourism, and that we control our tourists over tourists controlling our destination. And I think that is what our tourism leaders should also do, to come up with that very rigid study and come up with some sort of control, so that we are not able to experience that over tourism. Because remember, over tourism is a problem. Over tourism, although it generates lots of money to the economy, but if it is already harming our environment, the community, then it would never really go that far. So I hope I was able to answer, Benita, your question.
So, thank you. So with this, we come to an end to the session. I would like to propose the vote of thanks. I extend my sincere gratitude to our esteemed speaker, Mr. James Joseph Galvez, for delivering such an insightful and thought-provoking session on post-physical tourism, designing experiences for the immobile future. Our perspectives have truly expanded. Our understanding of tourism has evolved, domain beyond physical mobility. I would like to thank the organizing team for their efforts in coordinating this enriching session, and all the participants, especially our PhD scholars, for their active presence and engagement. We deeply appreciate the time and knowledge shared today, and we look forward for many such intellectually stimulating interactions in future. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Dr. Ananya. I also look forward.
Thank you so much, James.
Thank you so much. Thanks.